you can base prayer on like the type of internal conversations that you're having, because it makes you more aware of those conversations that you're having with yourself, that inner voice that you don't always notice, but when you actually start to pay attention to it, you realize that, man, there are a lot of things that I could change. There are a lot of things that there's a different way that I could shift how I'm speaking life into myself or into the world. We're good to go. Okay. Hello, beautiful conscious creators. I hope that you have started your day with nothing short of health, wealth, peace, love, and light. As we create consciously... Sorry, I was literally in bed right now. And I felt this wave of inspiration that was like, you need to get out of bed and share your perspective, or just share this part of this wave of inspiration that you're feeling on what prayer looks like for you, because it's something that I recorded in the previous episode about like having a slightly different perspective on what I was taught about prayer at a very young age. And so as we create consciously together in this space, I hope that you remember to be kind and patient with yourself and your thoughts. Yeah, that was a little delayed. I am very tired. I was in bed, as I said. So the reason for this episode is based on the inspiration that, like, this wave that hit me as I was in bed. And I also just was in the middle of thinking about like my holidays and how nice they were, and I connected to a conversation that I had with one of my friends about we were just talking about like spirituality and stuff, and you know, based on how we were raised, based on like looking at religion and like, you know, the different perspectives, because I mean, there are multiple religions and all of that stuff in the country, and you know, how we base our faith, how we connect to a higher power, something outside of ourselves that actually deeply exists within us, in our hearts, if you view it from a different perspective, that it's basically about the connection that you have to the heart and the imagination, how the mind connects to the heart, connects to the tongue, connects to your surroundings, connects to your faith in whatever you put your faith in. And I might be mumbling. I just want to keep this episode as short as possible. Yeah, so that was basically the conversation that we were having around spirituality. And you know, we got into a part about how we were taught prayer but you know, if you were in a deeply structured home, pray in the morning, pray in the evening. And since I had my awakening, something shifted inside of me about how I perceive prayer from the standpoint that I'm in right now. For me, it's more so about the internal conversation that I have throughout the day. And I'll give you a basic example in order to create a deeper understanding of what I'm saying. So sometimes I find myself in like something really awesome will happen during the day, something that I did not expect, right? And in that moment, I don't choose to wait till the end of the night to say thank you, to live in that moment with gratitude and then move on to say thank you at the end of the day. How I view prayer is that when a blessing comes my way in that moment, or even if it's something that's not 100% to my liking, I mean, that's completely different. I want to focus more on like a small thing that just, you know, piques my interest or ignites the joy inside of my heart in that specific moment. When those things happen in that moment, that's when I choose to pray. That's when I'm like, oh, thank you Thank you God for this moment. Thank you to myself for allowing myself to experience this. Thank you that I was able to receive it with such an open heart. Thank you that this moment, the way in which it transpired, the way in which it unfolded, has helped me to just be so present in a moment. Because you know, when exciting things happen, you just become so alive. And we go through like day to day, and there's like some sort of level of consistency, and you know, it's almost very similar. I don't live the same day twice, but there are similar things and consistent things that happen throughout one's day that have become basic and very normal, until this new thing that sort of like, you know, creates a bit of excitement, extra excitement in that day. And you find yourself in a moment of like just a deep sense of presence and awareness, and you're like, oh, I find myself in this blessing right now, and I'm choosing to say thank you. So I can't remember how I worded it verbatim to my friend, but I just remember saying to him, I don't view prayer as night and day, or morning and before bed. It's more so about that internal conversation, that the whole kindness and patience with myself throughout the moments that take place, the events that transpire. And as those things unfold, I find that in the moment of their unfolding, I'm in a space of prayer for that moment. And even, you know, I say that it's those moments, but it would be remiss of me to say it's only those moments, because I find that it's not just in those moments. It's the consistent conversation that is happening internally. It's the consistent kindness. It's the consistent patience, even though there are days where I just am not patient with myself. But just shifting into a space, or shifting into a thinking where I'm like, honey, you need to find a different way of looking at this. That internal conversation is how I've started to perceive prayer. And I thought I should share this because I wanted to say, whatever religious background you come from, it could be the Islamic religion, it could be Christianity. I mean, there's a whole host of religions. But regardless of what it is, that internal conversation that you're in, once you start to shift that internal conversation that is more conducive and gentle to your spirit, you start to realize that it was never about the night and day, but more so about the internal conversation with yourself that creates and manifests your reality based on how you share with your tongue. I found that once I started to change, a lot of things started to heal inside of me, and a big part of me started to shift on the inside. There was a certain shift in the way in which I spoke. There's a certain shift in the way in which I spoke, because even though there are certain things that have been consistent about maintaining a positive mindset, even though there were those things there, I found that in every circumstances that were maybe not necessarily pleasing, I could shift how I spoke about those circumstances. And that's sort of what I've started to perceive as prayer. Because I don't want to go too far down this conversation, because I know I can feel myself starting to digress and losing sight of what I wanted to say. But right now, the picture that I want to paint is that when I had that conversation with my friend, and I was explaining the whole shift in perspective on prayer, and he said to me, excuse me, that's a very interesting way of looking at it. And you know, after having this wave of inspiration while I was in bed, I thought this would be a nice episode to share and say, you know, you can base prayer on like the type of internal conversations that you're having, because it makes you more aware of those conversations that you're having with yourself, that inner voice that you don't always notice, but when you actually start to pay attention to it, you realize that, man, there are a lot of things that I could change. There are a lot of things that there's a different way that I could shift how I'm speaking life into myself or into the world, how I'm speaking, shifting this voice, not shifting the voice, but more so shifting the output, more so shifting what comes out of you, so that it is healing for you and maybe the next person that you're having a conversation with. Yeah, so thank you for listening all the way to the end. My name is Obakeng and I'm your accidental therapist.